So guys, we're live. We're live. Second live stream of the day. My first interview. I'm just checking the audio here. It should be okay. Yeah, I think that's okay. So I'm very, very pleased. I've got myself in stereo here. So I'm very, very pleased to announce that I'm chatting with ZenCash co-founder Robert. I'm going to pronounce your name here. I'm going to pronounce it wrong. Is it Viglione or Viglione?
That works, yeah, that works.
Right, you've got a Scottish guy trying to pronounce an Italian name. I think, is that Italian? Is that right?
It is, yeah. But we butchered in the U.S. I'm in the U.S. and we butcher it here. A real Italian cringes when they hear us say it.
Yeah, I'm the same. A lot of people mispronounce my name as well. So firstly, thanks for joining me today. I think we're going to chat for about 45 minutes or so, then we'll tie it up. Kind of short notice, but I mean, I do know a little bit about ZenCash, so there's a few things I want to bring up. I think it was, I've looked at the white paper before. You guys launched, was it May 2017?
Exactly, so we're just past our 1-year anniversary.
Right, like when you go to the website, bring up so that, I don't know if you've got the live stream on, but other people can see the website just now. When you go to the website and you look at the team page, one of the first things that strikes you is just how many people are involved in ZenCash. Like you have, you guys have put together a huge team. Yeah. And you don't realize how big a team this is until you look at what other teams are doing, and they're doing it with 3 people or 4 people.
Exactly. It's crazy for a shitcoin too to have that many people.
Yeah, it's good for a shitcoin to have. I mean, how many people are in the team altogether?
53 right now, but they're not all full time. Wow. We have about half of them full time, half of them.
So is a lot of kind of advisors and just people that take part in.
People that actually work, they just work like part-time hours, and then half the team works full-time hours.
Because I saw there was one part there in the page that said it was like country managers, so you get people for each region. Exactly,
yeah. So that was our big thing right away, was we wanted to be like really decentralized and not just be European in the field of the world. Really, what do I know in the U.S.? All right, so our approach was we want people on the ground in all key places around the world. So we grew the team quite well. I think we're in 12 countries right now.
What did the team start with then? It was just a few? It was there was obviously 53 people initially.
No, we started with like 5 people, and then we shot up over the last year. We had a big growth spurt, before the market crashed. Then the market crashed on us, which was always, it's like I've gotten 20 years worth of startup experience in just the last year. Trying to expand so rapidly in a exponentially growing market, and then it just crashes on you. But you still have to figure out how to pay 50 people. So it's challenging to make all this stuff work, but I think we've been doing a really good job.
Well, that's the thing. That's obviously something that you forget about, that this currency set up is actual businesses. Everyone has this idea that, you should contribute things free of charge and no one should get paid. You should get paid through your coins. But you forget, as a proper business, you would expect people to get paid for their time.
Exactly. Oh, and people have bills to pay. Honestly, like if you want, and this is one thing we saw in the industry early on, it was exactly like you said. It's like people just expected this to be a traditional open source project where everyone just contributes for free because they love it. And that's great. We have that too. But if you want to bring professionals in who dedicate their full-time labor hours to this, like we need, you have to pay them.
And the people who have that experience that you need tend to not work for free.
Exactly.
I kind of touched upon, I've touched upon this in previous videos where, people talk about community coins, but I've also seen the downside to that where people say a community coin and there's basically 10 people saying, what do we do? And no one actually does anything because they're all arguing, well, not arguing, but just discussing what should we do. Now, I think it is not a dictatorship, but I think a business needs, structure as far as how the team is, built up, and everyone needs a predefined role, because I think I've seen this, I'm starting to see this a lot in Discord groups where it's just everyone chips in. But I think sometimes it's good to have a predefined role. Yeah, you're doing marketing, you're doing this, you're doing that.
Absolutely, and go further than that. Not just you do marketing, but hey, what are you working on this week? And then follow up. What did you actually accomplish this week? And professionalizing this stuff, I think. So I kind of joke around about, some people still consider us a shitcoin, I think it's they don't bother to look at what we're doing, but we've built I'd say probably the most professional organization in this industry. You know, and there's some massively bigger projects than us that are kind of shaping up that way. But I mean, we started off from scratch, just super scrappy with, you know, a full stack business, people that understand engineering really well, multiple disciplines in engineering, but then, you know, the business development, the marketing, the operations, how you actually run and operate an organization, right? You have to have internal processes and follow up with things, try to make things increasingly efficient. We have a finance and accounting division, like we have an R&D division, right? We're on track to just be, you know, I think a very effective organization that goes way beyond just being a pure open source project with community kind of volunteer engagement, which we still have as well. And we have bounty programs and a forum for submission of projects from the community. And we have the volunteer stuff. But I mean, really, like, I think the hybrid approach is really the sweet spot that we want to be in.
Yeah, we take on suggestions from the community, but then, you know, the difficult decisions and the future of the coins that being pushed by the team.
Yeah, exactly. And just like, for instance, we do, you know, if you work for a big corporation, and, you know, big corporations basically do like a board, like an executive board review every quarter. We do this for our community every 2 weeks, where we tell them exactly what we've been doing, and we kind of tell them, like, here's what your resources are getting you. And just, it's kind of crazy, the progress that we've had for people that have been paying attention. Was even just this last one, last week, we announced 6 exchange listings, one of them being Binance, well, and one of those being a micro investment platform. So it's like, it's crazy. It's like we're doing BD on steroids because we have an actual dedicated team doing this stuff, that every week we're like, okay, guys, what are you doing?
And getting listed on an exchange isn't easy either. This is a thing, you know, people forget, you know, what goes on in the background to get listed. It's all like, if you look at all the new projects in 2018 and everyone talking about, oh, can we get this coin listed? It can be months just to get a coin listed on one exchange.
Totally.
You know, never mind Binance, or, you know, obviously Binance, I think it still has the largest volume as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So it's a challenge, and let me tell you, I'll walk you through our process. First, we start off on the BD side, you know, trying to generate that lead, you know, reaching out to the exchange and then getting a deal opened for discussion. Then we work through the deal, we negotiate. We typically get a price that's way lower than, you know, what a normal project that just, you know, tries to get listed, or cold calls will get. We'll get like 80 to 90% discount typically, because we make it a win-win. We have some incredible negotiators on the team. And then we have an integration guide that our engineering team put together. So anytime an exchange says, yes, let's list you, then we hand over a complete document that says exactly how to integrate Zen into their exchange. And then we lend them kind of a tech team if they have any questions with that and how to execute it. And then we have customer support on top of that. So like, this is completely different from, you know, the good old days of even like last year, or, you know, before that, where it'd just be like, you sit around as a project and you just expect that people will list you because there's like 24 projects.
But this makes it, like what you're saying here, this is even more surprising, because if you look at what you're saying there as far as 53 staff, all these different departments, you're only a year old. That's like if you actually look at what you guys have, it does surprise me that you're not like 3 or 4 year old, or you came. This is the thing, like you would think that perhaps the way that you're structured, that perhaps ZenCash was founded with a high CEO or a high pre-mine, but you didn't have anything. You obviously you've got the fee built into it, which now that's changing. Obviously, your new white paper is changing that. But I think initially, if I look at the website, what was it, like 3.5? No,
8.5%.
8.5%. Yeah, it was 88% to miners initially. Now that's changing. Is that implemented yet? Is that changing very soon?
It's going live in July. Probably the third to fourth week in July, we'll have our next hard fork, which implements the new consensus, which will split the block reward for now 70% miners, 10% to the treasury fund, 10% to secure nodes, and 10% to a new node class called super nodes. So we're upping the node percentages from 3.5% total to 20% total. So that'd be a really big deal for the project.
Yeah, so it's going to be even more proof of stake now. Well, masternodes. I'm just looking at the white paper now about it. Obviously, you've got 2 white papers. Your initial white paper was May 2017, and you know, obviously, you look at the white paper. Some white papers vary quite a lot. You know, but when you look at them, across the board. Some of them are too, there's too much detail. But you guys talked a lot about a lot of the features there. You obviously talk about ZenCash and all. We can talk about that in the future. But you had other features as well, like ZenTalk, ZenPub, ZenHide, and then you're going to talk about these secure nodes and all that. And I think I don't think you weren't the first to introduce secure nodes, but you were the first that I heard of. I don't know if there was any other coins before you. I know that now it's hard to find a coin that doesn't have a masternode, but like I know last year when you announced these secure nodes, this was a huge deal. This was a massive deal.
Exactly. So we innovated there. The innovation was we put TLS and SSL into the protocol. So now we have point-to-point encryption. So that's what makes it a secure node versus just a full node or a master node. So it's kind of like our secure node is like a hybrid of it's just a much more secure full node with staking, kind of like a master node.
But the minimum is still, was it 42 coins?
Exactly. So we wanted to make this, so we believe in decentralization, not just this high economic barrier. So we wanted a very low barrier, but still some skin in the game. So we set it at 42 Zen. This was when Zen was like $3, $3 or $8, whatever. So it was a very small amount compared to like Dash that at the time was like $1 million at the price back then. Yeah,
Dash is still very high. But even now, like obviously we're the market's been down a little bit over the last few weeks. Just now, for me to go and get a Zen secure node, it's going to be less than $1,000. Now, the reason I'm saying that's relevant is because I've actually been messing around with different algorithms over the last week or two, Lyra to Z, because of heat in the UK in my room. I've got my GPUs over there, and they run like 15 degrees cooler. But there's a lot of these new coins, and they're coming out with masternodes, and they're like a month old. And for me to get a masternode is like $5,000. I'm like, you don't even have, you're only listed on one exchange, and you're taking a high risk with these coins.
Yeah, so they're missing the point. Like, so for them, it's about locking up stake. So they're trying to lock up, just kind of like, you know, in a crude form, you know, get a lot of their money supply off market. For us, it's about getting a large distributed node network. So we're decentralized, and then this is the big plan: is we're going to build stuff on top of that node network. Here's where we're pivoting into a platform. So, you know, it's great. We have the second largest node network in the industry right now, ahead of Bitcoin and just behind Ethereum. And I guarantee you, when we up the payouts to 20% next month, it's going to be for sure greater than Ethereum's network in size.
Yeah, that's really impressive. Like, so is that per annum you're talking about the return? Or
no, so we have about 12,000 secure nodes right now. And you mean the 20%? Yeah. So the 20%
just as far as
actually, it's every block that's mined. 20% of the reward will be going to node operators.
Yep. And then I forget this here. You've got 10% to the treasury, 70% to miners, and then so it's going to be 10% to the secure nodes and 10% to super nodes.
Yes, exactly.
Right. This is something that's been on my mind. I've did a few videos about this recently, talking about it. Someone actually posted a comment a few weeks ago, and I actually used ZenCash as an example a few times, because they said all scam coins, or no, all masternodes and all coins with masternodes are scams. Yeah, and I said no, it's not. I said you have to look at it in a coin by coin basis. I was like, look at ZenCash, like, you know, it's a legit coin. It's it's been there for a long time. But of course there are a lot of new coins that come out there, and what you're saying there, I did a live stream the other day, and a new coin launched, and in block 1 or 2, they had 50% proof of stake, like with it, sorry, not masternodes, and 50% mining. But it was an absolute mess up. I was embarrassed with my live stream because I did it live thinking it would be a good launch. But I didn't know that they had actually pre-sold masternodes to investors or however. So right from the start, these guys were making a killing. Now, it's maybe too early for me to say that that's a shit coin or whatever, but the spidey sense starts tingling when things like that start happening. And, you know, I think proof of stake, if it's going to be implemented, it should be after an extended kind of mining period to make it fairer. If not, so, it's just about everyone getting all the coins, you know, a small group of people.
Yeah, and plus for us, we want to be a hybrid system. So, I mean, I love the fact that we're proof of work, and I want to stay that way. And we have some really innovative kind of proof of work protocol upgrades in the near future. But it is good that part of the new coin generation goes to other stakeholders besides miners, because ultimately, like, the whole point of mining was, well, security and then fair distribution of new coins. right?
Yeah.
So, you know, security we get from the mining right now, but like this last 51% attack that happened to us, it goes to show we want to be resilient. So you don't want like you want other safeguards out there, other stakeholder groups that have distribution of the supply as well.
Yeah, yeah, that's well. Can you tell us more about, you know, that's obviously we've been talking about secure nodes, but the super nodes, I think, is it 500 coins? If I look
Exactly.
at the white paper here, there's actually a requirement here. The essential, obviously, with most secure nodes, is a VPS enough to secure it, but with a super node, would you need a dedicated server?
Exactly. That's the point because so now this is our plan to kind of march further down the path of decentralization is right now the way that we monitor and pay or run the entire secure node system is via these kind of server clusters. And anytime you have a server that you're managing, you have a point of failure for the system or a point of like an attack vector. So the next stage where we have super nodes is to migrate all of the logic for tracking and payments on chain and automate it and get humans out of the loop. So this is the whole point of super nodes is the super nodes will actually be tasked as kind of like casino pit bosses that watch like the dealers, which would be in this case like the secure nodes.
Ah, right, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just looking at the requirements there, as far as 500 Zen, 8 gigabit of RAM, and pretty much a very strong VPS or a dedicated server you would need for that, I would say.
Yeah.
A very, very interesting idea that you've got that. You've got like a second layer of masternodes in essentially, or a parent layer.
Yep, exactly. And we're going to have them do a whole bunch of extra work as well, which is why we need them to have higher hardware requirements.
Well, the reason I'm asking a lot of questions about this is because I'm thinking about getting a Zen secure node myself in the near future. I'd like to try perhaps other coins, but I think ZenCash is the one I'd like to try. It's an established coin. It's not too expensive to get my foot in the door.
Yeah.
For the bit, I mean, I run my own dedicated server for my websites, just for outside the crypto. But
Yeah.
for the benefit of the others, how much technical experience do you think you need to set up a secure node?
So, I mean, if you can do Linux command line for VPS, you can do it. It's not for everyone, to be quite frank.
Yeah.
And that was the whole point of Secure Node version 1, was we wanted to actually attract the IT professional community into building a very robust and technically mature node network. In the future, the way I envision is I want a node everywhere. I want a node in every home. I want a node in every electronic device that makes sense to put one in. And these things have to be very lightweight. Every router in every home, I would love to convert into a Zen node. So these things have to be, to hit the mass market, have to be super easy, basically one-click install. So we'll get there. That's the vision, at least the way that I see it. I don't want there to be only, IT professionals really have the ability to run these things. Ultimately, you want the software to be so easy and well-built itself that it could run with basically a one-click install.
Yeah, just like an all-in-one solution. I mean, this is like in hosting. You probably know that yourself when you host a website. There's like one-click installations for different software. Long term, that would be amazing if it was like a one-click, secure node.
Now, I want millions, tens of millions, hundreds of millions of nodes all over the world. That's how we're building this thing.
It does. I mean, this goes back to the idea of centralization and security, as far as just distributing. Like, obviously, this has been a hot topic over the last month or so. Just security. The Z9 Mini being released, which is obviously greatly affected every Equihash coin. Now, I tweeted about this the other day, and I've said this before about other coins have been attacked, is that it's never good when something like this happens. It's never good when something bad happens. But I gave credit to Bitcoin Gold in May, and I said the same thing on Twitter about ZenCash, is when something bad happens, at the very least you want the team to be transparent, and you guys come out right away. That's kudos to you guys. You come out with your statement right away, which obviously never looks good on you guys to do that. But you come out, you contacted all the exchanges, and I know from speaking to other people in Discord groups, you advised them what to do as far as increasing the number of confirmations and all that.
Yep.
Now, the exchange issue and, Equihash in general, I mean, Equihash, I guess you could say it's in turmoil right now. I've seen the pools that I've been mining at, they've been DDoSed, attacked just about every other day, I think it's to bring down the requirement to do a 51% attack.
Yeah.
Which kind of makes sense. If you take out the major pools, then the network hash rate goes down. What, like, obviously someone had asked in the group there about Prog Power, I think it's called, isn't it? We were talking about, we don't know much about it, but there's a lot of different options out there as far as what algorithm you could change to.
Yeah.
I know this is still ongoing because what's the one Bitcoin Z are doing? Is it ZHash that's just changing the parameters?
Exactly. So that's the easiest thing to do is change the parameters and hope that the Z9 can't be modified to exploit that. But it's just a temporary fix, really. So the whole topic of ASICs, I'll say ASIC itself isn't bad, right?
Yeah.
It would be great if every single person in the world had an ASIC running in their home. It would be fully decentralized and massive hash rate. It'd be very difficult to subvert that network. The problem is when one individual entity like Bitmain can monopolize all the ASICs pre-release to the market.
Yeah.
And then they can kind of have a huge asymmetric advantage. And we have to be very specific with the problem. And that's an issue with decentralization on mining in general. We've come a really long way from when Satoshi launched Bitcoin, and every CPU could be running a node that's mining. So it's just not like that anymore.
So is this still ongoing with ZenCash as far as what algorithm you think you'd have to change to? Or?
It is, yeah. I mean, so the real goal here is, we're trying to upgrade to a block DAG protocol by the end of the year. That's the vision. Now, it's a really aggressive goal. It probably won't really happen until prototype by the end of the year and maybe production the first or second quarter of 2019. But that's the ultimate goal. Is if you hit a block DAG, which is basically you're mining a few dozen blocks in parallel per second, all of a sudden you have a minimal difficulty compared to what we have today. And now this thing could be very much more decentralized on mining. And it makes no sense to run an ASIC with something that has such a trivial difficulty that you're mining dozens of blocks per second. So this is the ultimate kind of variance collapsing mechanism for like block variability, which is the big issue for solo mining and why people join pools. So we can kill that and have individual mining or solo mining be profitable again, which is the ultimate goal, because then we have much more decentralization. So even the ASIC issue aside, we weren't decentralized on mining before ASIC, the Z9 came out. We had basically two pools that dominated all of our hash rate. So this has been an issue that we've been discussing internally for a while. And how do we deal with it? Because we're clearly not decentralized if we have two mining pools that have collectively 80% of the hash rate.
Yeah, and those pools could, well, if they wanted to, perform a malicious attack, like
they could, yeah.
What would you do? I've seen I've read the blog updates from yourself, from Bitcoin Z, from ZCash, and obviously I'm not I've done a little bit of development in the past, but I'm not a developer. But looking at what people have said, it's not the easiest thing in the world to change that algorithm for an established coin. It takes time. There's a lot of things to change. But
exactly.
what happens in the meantime? What happens in the next few months when the second batch of Z9 minis, which clearly have been, they've been reduced in price and all that as well. But what happens in the meantime? What do miners do? Because obviously, you're saying yourself, it's still going to be, it's dropping from 88% to 77%.
Right.
But I just know from a miner's, like speaking as a selfish miner right now, I just know, I've noticed like the coins I've been mining, I've seen a lot more nice hash kind of, what would you call them when someone kind of just jumps on, does 5 minutes of nice hash, spikes the difficulty, steals all the coins, no one can get any coins, and then you're like, I need to change to another pool or change to another coin. So all these things kind of tie in together though with what you're saying with centralization and security.
Yeah.
But I think the concern for a lot of us would be what happens in the short term, because when I saw the blog post from Zcash, they were basically saying, we'll do it in December, or we'll have it finished by December, or towards the end of the year, which for many people think, well, that's way too late.
Yeah, I don't blame them, because it is a balancing act, and the worst thing in the world would be to do something that screws up the entire protocol and the whole ecosystem gets destroyed. Right. Yeah. So we definitely have a tough balancing act, and we want to make sure that we have a commitment to quality. And so everything that we do, first of all, we need to plan it well. We need to prototype it. We need to test it like crazy, then put it into production code, test the production code like crazy at multiple levels, like on our DevNet, our testnet, socialize in the community, and then release through a planned release schedule. So just rushing something to market with a core protocol upgrade could be disastrous if you screw it up. So this is why it's always a trade-off and a balancing act. And the pain point right now is on the GPU mining community, which absolutely sucks because this is our support base on Equihash based for Zen, and we don't want to just leave them hanging. So we're trying to work through how we actually get a lasting solution here. So we have the kind of the short term, the intermediate term, and the long term. And the long term is not too long. Long term is like what, 7-8 months away, 9 months away maybe with BlockDAG. But in the short term, realistically, we can't do too much. We could, and we very well may change the parameters for Equihash.
Is that an easy change? Is that an easy change? The parameters, is the parameters like anything that takes a lot of work, or? So
the parameters you can change fairly straightforward in the code base, and then but the thing is you still have to test it. And we've had a core upgrade in the works for months now that we have in testing, and we're building binaries for and doing like a full release kind of path with schedule. And it is challenging to now kind of try to inject new code into this already planned cycle. It adds another dimension of risk that isn't something that you want to see in a system, to be quite frank. So I'm not necessarily happy about that, but I think it's an okay compromise to maybe have something short term that we hope would be able to at least kick the can down the road for the ASIC. In the intermediary term, we are actually thinking about other algorithms entirely, and we do look at projects like Vertcoin, and we commend them for sure. With their entire purpose for existence is to be ASIC resistant. Now, we have a much larger mandate as a project than just being ASIC resistant, but it is an element of our broader mandate that we have to pay attention to. So we are looking at kind of alternative algos. The long-term solution, though, is I'm very excited about the BlockDAG stuff, because I really just want to blow this thing out of the water and not just having constantly like this cat and mouse game with hardware manufacturers.
Well, that's the thing. It is cat and mouse, and I think I don't know too much about what Vertcoin are doing, if I'm honest. I think I maybe checked their website once, but I think the term ASIC resistant is something that we should all use with a pinch of salt now, because I mean, if you look at the ZK-SNARKs protocol, like a year or so, was it maybe 2 years ago, was it 2016 that came out initially, that was ASIC resistant, and there's so many other coins that have claimed to be ASIC resistant, and then they've not, and the reality is nothing is 100% from an ASIC mining machine point of view. They can definitely work around, I think like I guess the biggest one the last couple of months would be the X16R algorithm from Ravencoin, and then I think it was adapted to X16S, but it's simply like 16 different algorithms, and I don't think it would be beyond the, if there's enough coins on it, Bitmain would certainly develop something for that and tackle it.
I agree. So there's like modifications where you just kind of like concatenate these different algos together, and that's what that's kind of like the course of action that projects take right now. It's still a challenging process, but the real thing is, can we design a brand new algorithm that's massively memory intensive and will really kick it down the line for another couple of years? But it's always just kicking it down the line.
But this is a thing as well, because to go back to the issue of centralization, I've saw some people talking about this, and they'll say, hey, we'll make it, you need 10 gigabytes, and then all of a sudden anything below like a 1080 Ti or whatever can't do it. So all of a sudden it's only the 1080 Ti's that can do it, and people left with the 1050s, 60s and 70s are left like, I can't mine now. So then they'll go to another coin, and it doesn't really help. Someone in the ZenCash Discord there, they said, I don't know their I can't remember the username, it's a way up now, but they kind of said, why don't we just go 100% proof of stake? Now this is something I've seen a lot of people floating, but from your side of your point of view, is this not going like keeping miners, is that from a keeping supporters point of view, or is it from a security point of view, or what would be the downsides to going fully POS and just doing all nodes?
Yeah, this is an awesome question. So I think that, well, first of all, we would be irresponsible if we didn't investigate this exact question, investigate a range of solutions to go full POS, and see what they look like. We have to do it. We owe the community this as a broad ecosystem. At the same time, there's good reasons for why we chose POW, which is, number one, security. And there's no more battle-tested security mechanism than proof of work, right? To figure out who wins the right to append the next block to the chain. So there's huge heritage there that's battle-tested. So I'm very hesitant to move away from that from a security perspective. But then even from the social perspective of when you're a small project and you're just launching, your miners are your biggest supporters in the community. So this is also a social consideration to launch. And then you think like doing the right thing.
These are the guys that also perhaps sell their coins at the end of the day to exchanges and then trade them as well.
Exactly. So there's a difference. So there's a whole heterogeneity in miners. There's guys who mine because they absolutely love your project, and there's a whole bunch of other people that mine because of economics. And the economic miners, they dynamically adjust where they're pointing their hash rate, and they're just doing it based on ROI, and they dump the coins immediately. So I mean, how much do you owe an economic miner that's just kind of like dynamically shifting between different coins? Are we going to hold up what's in the best interest of the whole project for that? No, probably not. But then, of course, there still are good reasons for proof of work. So I'm very hesitant to move away from it. But at the same time, we have to explore it.
Yeah, it's difficult because I think it's kind of weird. I think I'm kind of a hypocrite in this because, when I've got enough coins, for something that I've mined, when someone else says, well, that's not good for miners, I think, well, I've got enough coins. It doesn't, it doesn't concern me. But I have to remember that if I hadn't mined those coins, I probably wouldn't be caring about the project in the first place. That's the reality of it,
Right.
As someone who's bought hardware, one of the main reasons I, kind of go towards a project is because I can mine the coin. There's a lot of other projects out there that are fantastic, but because I can't mine them, I kind of sway back towards coins that I can mine and get invested in, because this is how I'm investing into the project. But it's a difficult balance because you have to think, you can't just think of miners. You also have to think of the people that are buying the coins, the people that are working, like the whole thing. Miners are such a small part of it when you think about it.
Yeah. I mean, maybe they're not so small. I would say they're a big part of it, but they're a part of it. They're not the full ecosystem. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's difficult. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what happens over the next couple of months. I think it's just because we don't know what's happening. Bitmain hold what they're doing quite close to their chest as far. I mean, I saw a picture someone shared the other day, and I think it was someone in China that got their new Z9 Mini, and it had what looked like 6 months of dust on it. So honestly, they didn't even wipe it before they sent it away. And you're like, can they not even just give it a little clean and put a little sticker or even try and lie to them? But this is what you're dealing with. You're dealing with a company that will mine for, I don't know how many months they were mining with, but yeah, I don't envy you guys, if I'm honest. We've been discussing it a lot. This is the thing, we've been discussing it a lot, and we've got thinking, oh, I can't mine the coin, or something's happening. But I know in the other side of the fence, it's very hard for developers because there isn't a simple answer here. There really isn't.
No, there isn't. Exactly right. So it's just trade-offs. All of this stuff is just trade-offs, and you try to figure out what's the best trade-off, and you guess in a direction that makes sense. You step forward, and you reassess.
What I would say, this sounds a little bit hippie, as if from the 60s or something, but I think a lot of the Equihash coins have actually came together a little bit, and they've started working together on a lot of things because obviously they're all in it together. And as someone who's mining and all that, I think that's good to see, because I don't like when you go into Twitter and things like that. There's a lot of guys on Twitter who represent cryptocurrencies, and they act like teenagers, just criticizing other coins and all that, when it's kind of like an us versus them mentality, rather than we're all in this together. It's trying to make cryptocurrency better.
No, I totally agree with you.
But you were right what you're saying though. ASIC machines in themselves aren't bad. I think it's more to do with Bitmain's dominance and the way that they're selling these machines and all that. So as far as the Binance listing, how has that affected the net, ZenCash, as far as the network, as far as people coming to the project and all that. Have you seen, like, because obviously I've been looking at Discord groups and everyone wants to get in Binance, so they want to get into the big exchanges, but you know, obviously it's a lot of money to get listed on there. But how much benefit is it to get added to such a large exchange?
Yeah. So I'll first say it actually wasn't a lot of money for us. They behaved very, very ethically, and I'm very happy to be working with them because, in fact, what was, you know, rightfully an integration fee, they actually turned around and gave it to their community to spark interest in Zen. So, you know,
that's pretty good.
Yeah, hats off to them. They you know, were awesome in that respect. So very happy. Now, what's it done for us? We actually had kind of like a, you know, part of the demand curve for people that wanted to buy Zen just couldn't buy Zen for the longest time because Bittrex, the big exchange that we were trading on, they scaled so quickly. They blew up so fast in such a, you know, in a good way that they actually had to halt new accounts. So we had all these other people that wanted to buy Zen, but just couldn't do it. So the listing on Binance for us was absolutely huge, not from like a pump perspective, which, you know, it did pump up initially and then went right back down, but it was access to the market, which was so important for other people that wanted to get into the project but just couldn't, or it was very difficult to do it. And now Binance is a very liquid market, so it's actually kind of a pleasure to trade on there. It's really nice to have that market for us.
Have you seen the network hash rate go up because of it, or is it more kind of investors you've brought in rather than miners?
So it's hard to say, all right? I mean, our network hash rate has gone up for sure. Has it gone up because the price went up, because expectations went up, because of Binance? You know, it's really tough to say. I do think that overall it certainly adds. So like Binance right now in this industry is sort of a credibility marker. You get listed on Binance, all of a sudden you kind of like check a box where people say, okay, you're a real project now.
Yeah. Another thing, that this is going back a few months ago now, I think, but you actually get added to the Nano as well, didn't you? Was that a few months ago?
Yeah,
you got added to. In fact, if I plug this in, I could actually show you. It comes up with ZenCash when you load it up. Are you on any other wallets?
On any other? Well, so.
All right, nice. Because I've got a few of these I want to check out. I've got like what else? I've not tried this one yet. It's the KeepKey, and I've got the Trezor. I need to try them though.
Yeah.
But like, I think I would say that's another checkbox as well, because
it's huge. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how was that the kind of similar process as working with Ledger? Was that a similar process?
So it was a different process, but it was, so basically Ledger said, okay, here's our code base. You can work on it to basically modify it so that Zen's compatible. So it actually took us a few months to do that. It was a non-trivial process. I mean, the Ledger team was great. But it was really on us to do. So we got that done. We did the PR, pushed it to them. They merged it to master, and lo and behold, Zen is now compatible with Ledger. So it was a really big deal because serious, bigger investors sometimes won't even touch a coin if they can't pull the funds off and keep it on their own hardware device for cold storage. So this checked a huge box. But I'll tell you, and here's the power of our BD is, we're going in the next few months from 0 hardware devices to probably about 5 of them. The next one in the queue is Trezor. We're basically done with the code and pushing that to Trezor right now.
Is that the new one? Like, I bought this one and the new version came out about 2 days later. They've got. I think they're calling this one the Trezor 1 now, but they've got a new one out. It's about the same price.
Yeah, I think what the team's doing is working on the latest release.
It's really small as well.
Yeah.
So that's coming. That's great. That's fantastic. You're going to get added to that.
Yep. And then there's a great hardware hardware wallet that integrates with your smartphone. You just plug it into your smartphone port, and it's called Zeta, XEEDA. So we have a partnership with them, and you can actually pre-order your Zeta device now. I think they are released at the end of June or July. So that's another really nice hardware option for us. And then we have a couple others in the pipeline that we're queuing up, and we have a whole team dedicated to these integrations. So again, here's the benefit of teams. Yeah, you can have a team that's just dedicated to a very specific function and just nailing it over and over and over. And this is very different from the early days of Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, where you have basically a handful of devs, and even the terminology in this industry is kind of weird, where you're either a dev or you're marketing. in
Yeah,
finance.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
come on, guys, really?
yeah.
Even with like some of these like treasury funds, they just call them dev funds. Like, guys, we do a lot more than dev. I mean, obviously, engineering is a huge part of the project, but we're operating a full business here, and it's absolutely critical.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's a very important point. I mean, I'm guilty of that as well sometimes, like the devs and the non-devs. But it's very true, and I think this is the thing as well. Marketing is so much of cryptocurrency as well. In fact, sometimes I think it's more important because there are coins, I won't mention them, but there are coins that pump and dump quite often. And one tweet about a fork or something, and it can double, can increase the price so much that it's above legitimate projects. It's kind of frightening sometimes when it's people always say that buy the rumor, sell the news, but it does seem to be the case where rumors drive the price so much in this industry. But that thing you're talking about, the way that, sorry, just to see that Zeta thing, that looks amazing. That looks fantastic. I love the idea of that. See things like this, because this is what makes it easy for people. People don't want to have Electrum wallets and encryption and copying wallet.dat files. This is where it has to go.
Yep, exactly. I mean, even for me, it freaks me out. Like, am I going to lose the .dat? And boom, you've lost how much money, right? So, I mean, this is something. Of course, like you should not. Here's the big point: is you should not have to be an engineer to be able to operate our technology, and that's a big failure of the industry. But it's a very new industry, so let's not knock it too much. But where we're going in the near future is we have to pivot to the product market for mainstream users and start focusing on building real products that mainstream adopters will care about because it adds real value to their lives, and design these things from scratch to be super easy, user friendly, with customer support on hand, to make the full experience easy.
Well, I think moving forward, I mean, obviously there's going to be a lot of projects over the next 2 years that won't be there, that are there just now. But I think the ones that are successful are the ones that are going to start working with other companies, whether it be with hardware wallets or whether it be with, whatever. But I think the world between hardware and software is going to have to come together at one point. I was reading an article with, was it the Sia developer published a blog post, and they're developing their own FPGA for their own coin. So essentially developing their own ASIC mining machine for their own coin. But I thought that was quite interesting because it kind of, the ASIC machines are evil type of thing. It kind of throws that away and just shows you that, well, why are we letting someone else dominate our coin? We can develop this ourselves. Absolutely.
Yeah, I love that article. I know exactly what you're talking about. And they go into talking about the details of what it takes to actually manufacture this stuff, and just kind of the big arms race that there is for hardware manufacturing.
Well, that's the thing. They were going against an established giant and trying to take them on. And how do you do that? $1 billion company.
I always love the underdog story, though. It's always appealing to me.
I think I think over time we're going to hear less and less underdog stories, though. I think as time goes on, and then you start getting invested. Like once the banks start doing projects and other companies, and you're going to hear less about the guy who started it in his bedroom and more about the company that was funded perhaps only with $100 million and that kind of thing. I'm just kind of drawing parallels with what happened in the gaming industry, and things like that as well. I know it's changed a little bit in the gaming industry with mobile phones and, people can do that. But if you look at the gaming industry, even to design for the PS4 or the Xbox, hundreds of millions of dollars of investment. But I hope it doesn't go that way. But
yeah, so I'll tell you, for instance, we're gunning to be like the Google of this industry. So we have very high ambitions, and we're just starting with the singular focus in mind of we're kind of like the hybrid. A Google marries Zappos for the customer support side of it. And this is where we're going and this is why we have such a professional team, and we're kind of like all cylinders churning so efficiently right now. And then you think, how does another project that forks a GitHub repo with two guys, how do they compete with us in the long term? Right now, like if you look at our price, it looks like we're just like some scam coin. But if you think about long term, how would two guys forking a GitHub repo compete with a project of 50 guys who have collectively like 500 years worth of business experience, and engineering experience? It just doesn't make sense. The competitive bar is increasing fast.
But as far as price goes, I've stopped even trying to make sense out of why coins are priced a certain way. If you look what happened with Verge, Well, Verge hard forked themselves by accident and their price shot up. It's just like, just things like this in the market, and you're like, this is why I'm not a trader. You know, there's things like this that happen, and you're like, stop trying to make sense out of this. And you know, there's other coins, and they actually announce good news, like we've just integrated with this payment system, and the price goes down. So yeah, it's kind of bizarre the way that the market goes.
Yeah.
But I think long term, you guys are obviously heading in the right direction. I think this integration with hardware wallets and all that as well.
So we're thinking 3, 5, 10, 20 or more years down the line. So yeah, I mean, the price sucks right now. When you look at us, we're like ranked 140 or something, or 150 in the market today, which is just nuts compared to, I think, the way we're actually building this project with already the huge successes we've had on the integrations, the BD, the engineering stuff we have in the pipelines, the R&D we have in the pipeline. It honestly makes no sense to me. But of course, I'm not a speculator, and I would never give anyone advice like, hey, we're undervalued, go and buy a ton of Zen. In fact, I usually do the opposite, and maybe this is the problem. Is like, I'm also an academic, and I tell people diversify, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Yeah. You know, because you have to realize these are all huge experiments, right?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Right?
I've been doing the same though.
Yeah.
I did this at first as well, where I had like 7, 8 different coins, and then I end up, whenever I hear news about something, I'm like, oh, I really like what they're doing, and I sell those coins to buy more of those coins, and then I need to stop doing that. But what you're saying with price, I'm like, obviously you guys don't want to hear this, but I'm loving the fact the price of your coins have dropped, because I'm trying to buy a secure node. Because when I was talking to my friend about getting a secure node a few weeks ago, you guys were like $40 or so. So effectively, the price of getting a secure node for me is halved, you know, because of the way the markets went.
Just think about it. We're half the price of what we were a week ago, and we've listed on Binance and half a dozen other exchanges. We just integrated with a micro investment platform, like all of this stuff in the last week, and we're half the price. So it's like, come on, this just markets sometimes are not rational, but I think in the long run they tend to be kind of even out some, you know, and things catch up eventually.
I think you should stop integrating with hardware and getting exchange listings and just start sending out free T-shirts and get people to wear wear ZenCash T-shirts. That's the way to do it, and your price will pump up.
Yeah, no joke. We've had plenty of kind of pump and dump groups approach us to kind of plug us, and we always turn them down because that's just, in my opinion, an unethical approach to growth. It is short term anyway, so what's the point? In fact, I think that these groups can hurt people more than help people because they always have like a tiered system. Like the founders always make a killing, then like their premium tier makes some money, and then all the other guys are the chumps that get dumped on. Yeah, that's just unethical.
It's not just that, it's short-sighted as well, because, you know, the people that take part in that and they lose money, they're forever they're going to hate your coin because they lost money. It's just like an emotional thing. Well, if you lose money on a coin, you're...
Yeah, they'll end up hating crypto, and we get lumped in that basket too, even though like we consistently try to do the right thing. But I'd rather take the slow and steady approach to like building real value than pumping up it, you know, over like a short-term period. Yeah,
that's the way I'm looking at this as well. I'm looking at this as a long-term thing and not a kind of cash grab. I'm like, well, obviously everyone wants to try to make money here, but I'm thinking 5, 10 years down the line rather than, you know, 5 weeks down the line.
Yeah.
I think that's nearly 45 minutes. I'm not want to keep you too late. You know, just for time for you. Many thanks. I really do appreciate you taking part today. It's been great finding out about ZenCash. You've got so much going on in the future, but I think, you know, what we were talking about with the ASIC mining machines, the algorithm, that's probably going to be the hot topic over the next few weeks. It's a little bit annoying, obviously, from your point of view, because you're working on all these other things, and as you say, they're not getting the attention that they deserve as far as Binance listings and all these exchange listings and hardware development. But hopefully we'll find some sort of resolution to this over the next few months.
Yeah, and we just had a prototype delivery of our voting system. So it's like all of these amazing accomplishments that are going on, and, you know, we're just getting slammed. But, you know, that's life. And the good thing is we're not the kind of guys to just sit down and you know, cry and give up. It's not even possible in our minds. So we just get right back up and keep on swinging. So we'll be around for a while.
I think, like I said at the very start, I think the way that I look at this thing is not whether like a coin gets attacked or they face some sort of adversity. It's the way they react to it. You know, it's the way that they handle it.
Yeah.
because we have seen a lot of coins, and again, I don't want to name anyone, but there are coins that, and they've did certain things, or they've had an attack and they've not told anyone because they're thinking about the PR side of things.
Right.
So you know, it might be a short-term PR disaster to tell people about an attack or something, but I think long-term, this is what endears people to a community, and this is what gives them confidence to invest, to mine, and to follow the project.
Yeah.
Not everyone will agree with that, though.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I don't know if you caught it on you know, social media earlier, but I made a slip up yesterday when I was talking to CryptoLark about Bitcoin Gold, and they actually handled their 51% attack very well and very professionally. And I didn't realize that because I wasn't tracking their response. So I actually publicly apologized for getting it completely wrong. And then after being told about what they really did, I'm very impressed.
No, that's good. I mean, this is something that was on Twitter that you said that initially.
It was on a YouTube interview with CryptoLark.
This is the thing, though. For anyone watching, this is the problem with videos, because I get this myself. Like with an article, see if I write an article about ZenCash and someone said that's wrong, I just go delete and then put a little asterisk, we updated the article on this date. With videos, the only way to do it is just to delete the whole video or do a retraction video or do whatever. It's kind of frustrating, but people will say, oh, you said this back in January, and you're like, yeah, but I've got new information. That's why my opinion has changed. You know, I don't. You know, it's frustrating. It's one of those things. But I think you need to put your hands up when you say something wrong. But all you can do at the time is give your opinion on the information you've got. So
exactly. And you know, come on, we're all human. We're all going to make mistakes. I think the mistake is when you make a mistake and your ego gets in the way and you refuse to, you know, own up to it. So, you know, I'll tell you right now, I'll make another 1,000 mistakes over the next, you know, number of years. But, you know, it's not intentional. And anytime I do, I'm more than happy to, you know, clarify. So I was really happy the guys reached out and kind of fixed my perception. And, you know, they end up being a really good group of guys.
Yeah, I've been quite impressed with what they've done as well, with the way that they've reacted. They were I think they were one of the first to respond to the announcement of the Z9 Mini, and to say, "Listen, we're going to tackle this, guys." Yeah. So I think all the Equihash coins, as I said, Bitcoin Gold, ZenCash, SafeCoin, and Bitcoin, like all these coins, there's going to be a lot more working together as far as, you know, on this problem. But once again, I do appreciate it, Rob. Thanks a lot for taking part. I really do appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, Kev. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, and hopefully we can touch base again in the future at one point. So
thanks
to everyone who's been watching. There's been a lot of people leaving comments, but if we had to sit and go back and forth, you know, we'd be sitting there for about an hour. I know we only had 45 minutes, so unfortunately we couldn't sit and chat to people. But thanks for taking part. Thanks to everyone who's watching, and I'll speak to everyone soon. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Kev. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Cheers.